This is All India Radio Mangaluru. Dear listeners, in today's Talk in English program now, Professor Shishikanta Kaudur, School of Humanities, Social Sciences and Management, National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, NITK Surathkal, is going to speak on the topic Professional Education, Language and Communication.
Good evening, dear listeners. In this short talk today, I shall deal very briefly with the question of language and communication proficiency in the domain of professional education. In India, we churn out more than 15 lakh engineers and about 4 lakh managers each year. These two disciplines produce the largest number of graduates from the professional education category. But if we ask the question as to how many of these graduates are readily employable, having done a professional course, the number is significantly and shockingly less. NASSCOM, the industry association for the IT BPM sector, says only 25% of engineering graduates are readily employable. And we are repeatedly told an important employability skill that is lacking among our graduates is communication skills. Do our graduates from professional courses have genuine innovative ideas that can bring about changes to our organization and industries? If they do, are they able to express these ideas in a comprehensible way? If not, where does the problem lie? What can be done to make our graduates more communicative and articulate to effect those changes they dream of? These are some of the big questions that should bother us. Not many in the system seem to think about these questions in an engaging manner. Among those who at least ponder on them, many leave the answers to policymakers. On the other hand, much of the vision of policy making does not trickle down the hierarchy of the system or gets mutated coming to the ground level. For example, if language labs are planned as part of the enhancement of communicative English, local colleges may suffer not only from the dearth of funds for computer systems, but also from the lack of technical expertise to operate and maintain them. It is also that a conversation between policymakers, institutions, and teachers is lacking substantially so as to implement the policy changes and make a difference. This leads to a scenario where neither newer technologies nor traditional methods help students master proficiency in communication. Hence, low-cost strategies are necessary to improve communication proficiency among our students. Compared to this general scenario, professional colleges and institutions are better placed. This is because of the higher fees that are charged by these institutions, which have a track record of fairly good campus placements. Likewise, the communication ability of students from these institutions may be slightly higher when compared to that of BA, BCom, BSc graduates. This is not only because professional institutes usually admit the creamy layer students, but also because many of those institutes can afford to establish and run facilities such as language labs or provide additional training in communication. Yet, these efforts are more or less random and depend on the resourcefulness of the college administration. We have to note that the above observation of NASSCOM is despite these efforts by the professional colleges. Hence, it may be surmised that there is only a marginal difference between communication proficiency of ordinary graduates and that of graduates from professional courses. Historically, we have shown a sense of deference to languages and the study of languages. A certain sense of sacredness has been attached to languages, especially classical ones. This has been the case mostly with the languages of the ruling class, such as Sanskrit and Persian. With the advent of the British, the authority of the Persian language slowly shifted to English as it became the language of the ruling class. Along with it, shifted the power and thereby the sense of deference. The English language manifested in public with this sense of esteem and respect. In the Indian context, a speaker who could speak flawless and fluent English was held almost in awe and reverence. Because of such reverence with which the language itself was held, mistakes and errors committed, mispronunciations uttered, and wrong usages of phrases and grammar attracted ridicule and sometimes even contempt. As a result, Creative experimentation with the usages, vocabulary, and structures of the English language did not get encouragement. Conversely, in the British colonies such as Trinidad or Jamaica, etc., one could see such creative use of English language by poets such as Jean Binta Breeze, Muta Baruka, Mikey Smith, and so on. They created a literary aesthetic different from that of Anglo-American models. We do not have Indian writers in English who used language much the way Alice Walker did in the novel Color Purple either. The reverence surrounding English brought in a certain deterrent effect from using that language among the larger masses in India. That is, though English was more and more accessible in public, as in the 20th century and thereafter, people at large found it difficult to use, leave alone master, for fear of committing errors and mistakes, and hence for fear of ridicule. There was the alternative of the mother tongue in the vernacular, which served the immediate purpose of the masses. This being the case with the larger populace, a tiny section of the population continued to learn and master English and enjoy the benefits of modern enterprises where that language was the lifeblood. This historical baggage needs to be kept in mind when we talk about English in India in the current times and the idea of proficiency in English. This historical perception is important to policymakers as well as teachers of English, since it needs to be perceived as a language of emancipation and thereby facilitate learning in a big and fundamentally different way. Confidence boosting of students vis-a-vis the formidable aura of English needs to be part of the teaching learning process. A teacher-facilitated sense of a level playing field in the classroom can largely help this process. Graduates of professional courses look up to English as a key instrument to enter into the globalized corporate world, get into the portals of multinational companies, bag an international assignment, and so on. Aspiring parents from the Indian middle class too want their wards to excel in English proficiency and get plum jobs in the corporate world. At this juncture, National Education Policy (NEP 2020) has proposed to take professional education, especially engineering education, to aspirants in the regional languages as well. This move will need a good amount of time to produce the bulk of knowledge in the regional languages. The nomenclature in technical domains is a tricky issue. Retaining the English terms for technical nomenclature may make the textbook overridden by the English vocabulary and defeat the primary motive behind this translation. On the other hand, translating all of the technical terms may make it sound highly outlandish for that language and thereby make it quite impractical. Hence, developing a proper vocabulary for the technical domains will need more time than we may infer from our common sense. Moreover, we have no clear picture of the applicability of such technical or professional knowledge in regional languages. One may push forth examples of Russia, Japan, China, Korea, and so on, who have developed their institutions, organizations, and industries in their own languages. However, it should be noted that these are countries that did not have a long colonial experience as we had in India. They built their industries and curriculum together in their tongue over a period of time with an organic dependency on each other. However, modern industries and organizations in India have been founded during the British colonial period, and the legacy of English continues to this day. In a contiguous manner, the curriculum in the technical domains is also built and developed over a period of time in English. Supplanting that with the vocabulary of the regional language all of a sudden, without much preparation, will amount to change for the sake of change. And this could be detrimental to the overall domain of professional education. If the change is introduced with the argument that the rural masses aren't comfortable with English, the exercise in change is going to be futile, since the Indian vocabulary that is introduced instead of English in a hurry is going to be equally distant and incomprehensible. If the love of our mother tongue or love of our regional languages is the reason to produce technical and professional curricula in those languages, we need to make that a well thought out process. Wide sections of stakeholders should be consulted in such a process that unfurls slowly and wisely. Therefore, even as we think about professional education in regional languages, we need to strengthen the same in English as well. Many universities and institutions have sidelined the importance of teaching English or communication in their engineering curriculum. I would argue proficiency in communication would not unfurl with only language papers in the curriculum. Other subjects in humanities and social sciences, such as philosophy, psychology, sociology, economics, history, and so on, would widen the sensibilities of young adults and make them articulate themselves on a variety of issues with expressive skills acquired from communication or language activities. This may be happening to a certain degree in our IITs and a somewhat lesser degree in our NITs. But our universities and colleges awarding technical degrees continue to ignore English in their curriculum. They have a lukewarm approach to making language or communication a formal part of the curriculum. They dilly-dally with the appointment of language teachers. Many times, even if the faculty are appointed, they are meted out with the stepmotherly treatment, as though language and communication are of secondary importance compared to other technical subjects. Policymakers, institutions, and teachers in professional education should address such issues together to break the status quo. With the proliferation of online courses, however, there is a reason to speculate that contemporary students are more empowered in accessing expertise in the area of their choice. With a smartphone in their hand and cheap internet connectivity, anyone can access innumerable online courses from different universities through platforms such as Coursera, NPTEL, Swayam, etc. There are many courses in different aspects of communication such as reading, writing, speaking, and listening that are on offer on these different platforms. The students can undergo a course and get certified with a nominal fee. There are also ways of attending the course without paying the fees, where a student audits the course without taking exams. And then there are mobile apps for casual and independent learning such as Duolingo, Mondly, etc. Contemporary students could make use of these different platforms of learning along with the classroom experience. Thus, learning through and working with a variety of online and offline channels is the reality of the post-COVID world. Along with this, enlightened and more inclusive policy making from educational administrators in professional education can bring about changes in the communication scenario in the present world.
Dear listeners, you have just heard Professor Shashikanta Kaudur speaking on the topic Professional Education, Language and Communication. This talk came to you from the studios of All India Radio Mangaluru.